Hello everybody, and a really warm welcome to another courageous conversation where we are celebrating the courage and wisdom and voices of women. So my name is Pollyanna Darling and I look after community engagement and strategy at TreeSisters, and I'm really thrilled today to be speaking with Sami Aaron. So hopefully the tech is going to be really smooth and beautiful today, and we will have Sami on camera very shortly. And in the meantime, I would really love to read you her bio so that you know a little more about her. Sami is the founder of a non-profit, The Resilient Activist, a resource for all things environmental and nature connected in the Kansas City area in the heart of the United States. Her professional journey as a software developer took a profound shift after losing her older son to suicide in 2003. His deep environmental activism and resulting grief, depression, and belief that he wasn't going to make a difference. Activism. Since his death, she has become a meditation and yoga teacher. She teaches nature-connected mindfulness and stress relief. She is a Kansas State Extension Master Naturalist and coordinates the team that manages a restored toxic waste site that is now a certified pollinator habitat. TreeSisters Inner Journey was instrumental in helping Sami solidify her role and skills to shine the light on her personal environmental activism. She attributes TreeSisters' gifts as deep guidance that led her to step fully into her calling to create the Resilient Activist organization. So I can see that Sami's watching, and I'm going to actually see if I can bring her on camera. Request to bring you on camera, Sami, and hopefully you can say yes to that and we can get you on camera. Hello, Christine. Hi, Sarah. So as you know, it's a rather courageous thing to do, to come and agree to do a courageous conversation, because we have a large Facebook audience, and the fact that it's live always adds this additional element of courage that's required, because the tech does not always go to plan. Hi, Maria. So Sami, if you can see, I have made a request to bring you on, and if you can just say yes to that, it should be on your screen. Hello, Kate. So I'm hoping it's not going to be too windy out here today. No, I've lost you, Sami. Hello, Lucy. How are you? So it's lovely that everybody's here. Hi, Deborah. Okay, I can see you, Sami. Hi, Anne. That's so cool. So all these awesome women watching. It's very exciting. Now we just have to get Sami on camera and we'll be ready to go. Hi, Jeanette. So Sami, hopefully you can make that request. Hi, Maggie. As we did before. Alternatively, I can try and bring you on camera, but you need to say yes to my request. Hi, Karen in Salt Spring Island, British Columbia. Hi, Karen. We really will have Sami soon. We just tested it all before and it worked. So, Sami, I'm going to try and bring you on camera. So I will... Oh, you've disappeared. Okay, yes, Sami's here and she's working on it. Okay, I'll try that and then you need to agree. So let me just try. So I've made a request.
There we go.
There you are. Oh, fantastic.
Okay.
Oh, it's always a thrill to actually get somebody live on camera.
Technology.
Yeah,
Oh my
so
gosh.
a really warm welcome to Courageous Conversations. Thank you so much for joining us. And I would really love to ask you first why you're a tree sister.
Um, Someone sent me a Facebook message maybe, I don't know, 4 years ago and just said, you need to be a tree sister. And I went on the site and there was a connection that I made with someone there to take a course that she was teaching that same day. And it was just like, I just felt like I was just home. Like these are a bunch of people I didn't have to explain myself to, you know? And I think the thing that really, really attracted me at the time was the global community. You know, the fact that I really wasn't alone. And even though there's a great environmental community where I live, there's something so nurturing about knowing that there's this huge global community of people that feel the same way. So that's why and so I've been a donor, I think, since about that time. And I have come in and out a little bit. Like there was maybe a year when I didn't even, come to the page, and then I'll come on and post for a while and then get busy and not post for a while. But there's always this background sense that I know Tree Sisters is there and I know what they're working on and I know if I need something. So about a year ago, I had the opportunity to speak at the Environmental Protection Agency, and I was really nervous about it. And I requested permission, I think, from you, Pollyanna, to put my speech on one of the Tree Sisters groups and get feedback from people. And it was just so um, uplifting for me to be able to know that I had a group of people that would look at it with compassion and passion and intelligence and experience and could just help me stand up and say, yeah, these are the right words and this is the right thing to say. So that's
Yeah.
why.
I remember that whole thing of you going to speak and how actually it inspired everybody else so much. Like I found it profoundly inspiring. So just by your act of sharing and asking for feedback, you're actually inspiring a whole load of other women to into action, which is awesome. So
Cool.
just to sort of extend on that a little bit, what has being a tree sister given you?
I would say the main thing is because I kind of went in and out of it. Um, in the very beginning, it was Claire Dubois' meditations. And I just would find them so deepening, and I was already really connected to the planet. I already am a meditation teacher. Like, I didn't really need another meditation teacher. But there was just something about her downloads that's just what it felt like in the beginning. And then last year, I was at the Bioneers Conference, so October of 2017, and kind of decided to reconnect to Tree Sisters. I met Elizabeth there, waiting in line in the restroom, and just had this conversation. And I thought, I think it's time to reconnect and really see what Tree Sisters has going on. And Claire had just announced that Billion Trees campaign. And it gave me exactly what I needed to start this nonprofit. So aside from hearing the most powerful and respected women in the environmental movement from around the world, and each one of their podcasts or whatever, recordings was like just a huge download from them. Like they might have been just talking about their everyday lives, and I'm getting this energetic rush.
Are you talking
Um,
about the Wild Hope interviews that we did at the
the
beginning? Yeah.
hmm Yeah. And then when Claire would go through the group meditations and coming into the tent and then going out into the forest and moving, around the whole concept of Tree Sisters, that the sacred geometry of Tree Sisters, it just inspired me. And at the time, it was really the shine, the activate and the shine pieces that the resilient activist concept had been like bubbling up in my mind. And that was exactly the right time for me to hear those things and be able to really step into where I was headed with that, which was I had no idea where I was headed with that. I just knew I was headed there. And so, and it was like, whatever, I'm just going to go there because I really just felt like I was ready to go there. And that deep guided meditations, I mean, they were a huge part of what allowed me to find that comfort in stepping into that.
Yeah. So for those of you who's just joined us, I'm speaking with Sami Aaron, who is a tree sister, and she's also the resilient activist. And we're just talking about the inner journey materials at the moment. And Sami, I'd really love to know a little bit more about the resilient activist and how you came to that. And I'm really curious about the term resilient activist because, so many tree sisters are also activists. And I'd love you to just speak to that a little bit more.
Sure. So those of you who were on the call when Pollyanna read my bio know that a big part of my journey took a huge shift after my son's suicide. And over these 15 years since he's been gone, I feel like I've been gathering tools that might have helped him. So he was a deep environmental activist, and it was as if I wanted to find how I could have supported him maybe 10 years before he got to where he was, when he was still hopeful and upbeat and, willing to put in the time and energy and with no money. And, and it was just calling from his heart. And so that was kind of the original mission of the Resilient Activist, was what could I offer to other environmental and social justice activists now that I have in my life meditation and yoga and the nature process, deep nature teachings and connections and stress management tools and all these things that I didn't have when he was going through his issues. Because I was 50 when he died, and I had never done any yoga, meditation, nothing. I didn't have any of those tools at all. And so this first year, the Resilient Activist started with that, like, what could I offer to help support other activists? And I went through and, some people, when they turn 65, they retire. So when I turned 65 last October, I thought, let's just start a nonprofit. And I called I called 60 people. As you do, it's what people do. I called 60 people on my contact list and I set this criteria. I wanted people that I knew already had a deep nature connection. I wanted people who had either a healing modality or they received one. They got that about holistic modalities. And the third criteria was, and I like to be with them. So I had 60 people that I called and just said, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, so come meet with me. And I had a focus group with 45 people. So almost a year later, that was last February, so like 10 months later, I have 15 people who are very active with me. We are a 501c3 charity in the United States, and we finally refined our mission statement to be that we are the local community resource for all things environmental and nature connected in Kansas City, which is where I am. And if this model goes well, then we're modeling it so it can be replicated in other cities. So it brings together environmental activists in a networking program. I've got some corporate programming for business groups. That's kind of a 3-series session. What's happening globally in their industry. What's happening locally and what resources are available. And the third session is, and how can we help you actually take some steps and make some changes. So that inspiration and action. We're going to have monthly, really low key, fun events for the public to just, some of it we're going to call Ask the Resilient Activist. Like, just people can just ask questions about things, and maybe we have resources to send them to, or maybe we need to research something and give them an answer, you know, but that's really what it's about. So it's just helping in the same way, really, that Tree Sisters is helping shift this group of people to the next level. It's that whole shifting from consumer species to a restorer species. That's what the resilient activist is about, is taking people exactly where they are, whether their first step is going to be, well, I'm going to try not to use any plastic straws this month, or they've been at this for 35, 40 years, you know, really fighting for the environment. Whatever level anybody's at, we've got something that we have in mind that we're going to support them with. So we just got our programming defined about 2 weeks ago, and anyway, so that's what it's about.
That's cool. And I'm still very curious. It sounds wonderful, but I'm also very curious still about the term resilient activist, because to me that is really speaking to what can happen to people that engage in activism in terms of burnout and depression and so on. And I'm wondering about your own journey with that, because to some degree you are being a resilient activist by even offering support to other
Yeah.
activists. And so what's your journey been with resilience?
So that's a really interesting question, because I've been at this game a really long time, and have been frustrated and angry, and I've been, you know, pissy with people and kind of demanding, and I'm really good at sarcasm. And so anytime someone doesn't get me, you know, or someone rolls their eyes because we're having another dinner at Sammy's house and we have to use real plates instead of paper, you know, I mean, it's like I've 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 encountered it all. I've encountered the pushback, and I've encountered the phone calls to government officials who don't care. And about 4 years ago, I decided to start selling biodegradable produce bags and organic cotton produce bags at our farmers market, because it's all plastic bags. And people come and they bring their big bags, and then the vendors put their fruit and vegetables in plastic bags, and then they all put those plastic bags in their big bags. And my trying to sell those was a total failure. I mean, I lost money. I still have a big bucket of about 150 bags. And I just yesterday learned that that market, it has now put a mandate for 2020 that they will ban plastic bags and plastic cutlery and plates and stuff in 2020 from that market. And it's like, whoa, phew. You know, I like to think I was part of making that happen. Um, and it's just, you know, it's a very pragmatic thing. I believe my resiliency comes from my deep meditation practice. The whole concept of putting it out there with your whole heart and not holding on to the outcome, because you don't know who's going to hear you. You don't know who's going to take two words that came out of your mouth and turn it into something a month later, 3 years later. Like, you just don't know. And that's my resiliency, really, is not holding on to any of it. And of course, that's much easier said than done, but that's my practice. Like, that's, yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and it's such a powerful practice, I think, to be making the effort but letting go of the outcome, because that holding on to how it needs to be and how it needs to look and how it has to happen, just like from my own personal experience, creates a lot of suffering. And,
Well,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and you know, one thing I was thinking about, there's some conversations on some of the other Tree Sisters pages about corporations and how to work with them or not work with them, and which ones are heinous and you should never even have any reactions to or relationship with. And I can remember a few years back here in the United States, the Koch brothers are like the nemesis of all things environmental. And they're from Wichita, Kansas, which is just about a 3-hour drive from here. And I know of these people really well. And one day I just decided to start writing them love letters. And I just was like, so if I'm battling them all the time, I'm not going to win them over. You know, there will be no joy from that relationship. And I just started writing them letters about how intelligent they are, how much they know about running businesses, how many employees they have, all this equipment they have at their disposal. And wouldn't it be cool if they just shifted that equipment away from oil pipelines, went straight to the oceans, and started cleaning them up? Like, that's, you know, like they would be like superheroes. And, you know, and it was like, it felt so good to me. Did I hear back from them? No. But it felt really good. Do you know what I mean? It was like I was just putting out there what I want to see them do. And that's my resiliency. Rather than being angry about it, trying to force things, I don't know. Whenever there's pushback, I feel like there's winners and losers. And that's a part of it. That's a part of my practice. So I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah. Oh, it's blowing a gale
I'm
here. It
hearing
was
wind. Yeah.
when this is the beauty of live is when I sat down outside to do this, it was not blowing a gale at all, and now that we're doing it, it's howling gale. So I really
Yeah.
apologize to everybody for the wind noise. Um, I'm interested also in your journey with courage. I know that it's sort of similar to resilience, but as this is a courageous conversation and it does take some courage to come and do one of these, how have you felt that you've, you know, tapped into your own courage in your life?
Oh, that's a tough question. Um, I've always been really comfortable speaking in front of people. I was a software developer for a lot of years, and I taught database design workshops and um, used to teach childbirth classes. Like this whole like public speaking is doesn't bother me at all, and even with big audiences. And I've kind of been thinking about, you know, what is it that I took the courage to do? Because really for me, it's in starting the Resilient Activist. Like what did I have to let go of or not care about or just like pretend like it didn't matter to to step into that? And one of the things was um, I've always segmented my personal life from my software life and clients, from my yoga and meditation clients and teachings, right? There's three separate things. And the deeper I've connected to the planet, and the more I feel I need to be one of those millions of people out there who are speaking for the planet and from the planet, it's inspired me to find that courage to let that voice go across personal, professional, and I mean, my meditation stuff, I've always done deep nature connections with that. But there's a quote that some of you may know, Paul Hawken, and he had a book out called Blessed Unrest. And there was a quote that, and I got that book the year it was published. It's been a long time ago. And there's some quote in there that we humans breathe the same molecule. I'm going to mess this up, but we humans breathe the same molecules of air as did Jesus, Confucius, and Rachel Carson. And so for those people that don't know Rachel Carson, she started the environmental movement in the United States. And she testified before Congress about DDT and what it was doing to our birds of prey and their eggs and the eggshells while she was battling breast cancer, which she lost about 2 years after she testified in Congress. And she's just the inspiration. I took up just talking about her, but to think that I might have an air molecule in me that I have breathed in, that she breathes in, that I too could be Rachel Carson. And it was like, oh my gosh, doesn't that give me a voice?
Yeah.
So that's my courage, is like, can I get out of my own head? Can I quit worrying if people think I'm, a little off kilter? Do I have people am I okay that people make fun of me for talking to trees? That kind of thing. And can I just be okay with that? Can I be funny about it or sarcastic back? That works really well for me. And I've just found the more that I allow myself to do that, and to not, like, one of my main meditation teachers, Adyashanti, and some of you may know of him. And I know I can just hear his voice over and over saying, when you speak the truth, you know that it's coming from a place of clarity. Only finding that truth, recognizing it, being willing to even address it, and then actually acting on it are really hard things. But it's kind of that between Rachel Carson and my Shine and Activate through Tree Sisters and Adyashanti's, just speak that truth, because when you live in truth, you don't carry so much shit on your shoulders. I mean, that's just how it is, right? And that's it. That's what I've done.
Yeah.
So there you
I
have
really
it.
love that. I love that idea of breathing the same air, because it makes me think also of, for me personally, I think about the fact that the water is all the same water that's always been here, and
Yes.
the
Yes.
the molecules are all the same molecules. What pieces of my body have been different things, throughout the Earth's sort of
Yeah.
history. And I'm also I love that idea also of finding the courage to actually bring yourself to all portions of your life as who you actually are. And how did that go for you? How has that gone for you doing that?
Well, let's just say it didn't happen overnight. So, my son's buried in California, and for a long time. I went and would spend a few weeks there with family that lived there. And I have a nephew who, at the time, was maybe 12. And I was on my laptop trying to do some software work while I was out there. And I had a little solar charger that I had, like, it was a really early one. It was really expensive, and it was a piece of crap. And I was trying to charge my laptop with this solar charger hooked onto the window. Like, it was just so stupid. And he's walking by, and I'm trying to work, and it's jiggling in the wind, and he says, well, what are you doing? And I said, well, I got some work to do for a client, and so I'm doing some software stuff. And he's looking at the laptop, and he sees this cord, and he sees this solar charger, and he says, so you can do software work and be like this environmental person at the same time? I was like, this light went off. And that's kind of been in the back of my mind all this time. And it just took me a while to find my courage, really, to share that, and to not continue to back down. So, like, taking my own carry-out containers to a restaurant, even if if everybody else that I'm with has their glasses with their straws, with their, plastic silverware and stuff, and I've got my own container, and that's how I am, that's who I am, and I'm stepping into that, and I'm just going to do that. And I don't explain to anybody. If they want to ask questions, fine. I kind of step back. Some depends on who it is, but to the whole, there was one of my pranayama teachers, yoga breathing teachers, was like, if someone asks you to really explain the depth of that particular practice, they need to ask you 3 times, right? So so that it's not someone just asks and they don't really care. And someone asks and I'm like, I really want to tell you because, you're stupid and I can tell you exactly what to do. Right. So they have to ask 3 times. And so I kind of go with that. For the most part, I just live it. I just live it as best I can. And if someone asks me, then I share it. But they have
Yeah.
to ask with like integrity. I don't make them do it 3 times, but it's that concept.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And in a
So,
way, I guess you're normalizing something, like if you just show up with
mhm.
your container and act like it's the most normal thing in the world to bring your own container, that's going to have an impact, even if it's just an impact on the people who are serving the food, that they
Yeah,
start thinking, well, maybe it's completely normal for people to do this. And I love that as
yeah.
what you're speaking to, that just being what it is that you want to see in the world, like actually just being it without caring about the outcome, is in a way creating that path.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of twofold. One is just the being, and that was really interesting. I can remember a time one year with my software clients, and this is probably 25 years ago. I decided that any of my I charged by the hour. And so any of my clients that were recycling their paper and their soda cans at their office, I wasn't going to raise my hourly rates for them. And I told them that.
That's
Okay.
so cool.
I'd forgotten about it. And so they all did it. It was like, oh my gosh, when it was not easy here in town for corporations to recycle. Like that was not set up at all. So people were taking it home and whatever. So I had this one client in another state and I would travel there every once in a while. And they were a billboard company, so outdoor advertising. And they had these big poles, with the big gaudy signs. And yes, I was part of that industry. And anyway, I went there and my client picks me up at the airport and he says, I have something to show you. So instead of going to his office, he's driving me through these backwoods in southern Georgia, like on these little 2-lane roads. And I'm like, and I knew him really well, but I'm like, this is weird. We get to this warehouse that he had just bought, and what he wanted to show me were all these rusted um, light poles that he had bought at auction that they were going to clean up and use for the poles on their signs. I
Oh
know,
my
that's what
gosh.
I said. And he said, I knew you were the only person in the world who would appreciate that. And it came because I said, I'm not going to raise your rates. And that was like 2 or 3 years before, that I said, if you recycle, I'm not going to raise your rates. And there was that's that not holding on to it, like I never said to him, well, did you look at all your other equipment that you buy? I never had that conversation at all, right?
Yeah.
He heard it in his own way. And I mean, that just made my heart beat faster when that
Yeah.
happened.
That just, when you just told me that, it's given me goosebumps all up my back. That, it's the power of just, it's the power of speaking your truth. And I really love that concept of not raising your rates for people who are going to recycle. Like, I don't even know that I would ever have thought about that, but that's amazing. What a cool story. So I'm conscious of the time.
Okay.
Yeah, so we probably wrap it up in a minute, but what I would really love is, we know that it takes everyone bringing their energy and their gifts for, I suppose, the reforestation revolution, the planet loving revolution to happen. And if there was something that you could share of a final message or invitation for women to step in and join us in Tree Sisters, what would that be?
I think it's the fact that it's happening, that the groundswell is swelling, that it doesn't matter what the government does. This is happening with or without every government around the world. That this, so the subtitle on the the Blessed Unrest book was how the largest movement in the world came into being and why nobody saw it coming. And he talks about this shift, that this is the biggest movement since the Industrial Revolution, that people all over the globe are feeling this uplift. They want to step into it. And like today, I had someone post something on a Facebook page, a zero waste Facebook page, about the Subaru dealerships in town have the TerraCycle recycling bins. So there's a lot of packaging that can't be recycled in your pickup, but TerraCycle will take it back and they'll make something, they have ways to do that. And I was like, I didn't know about that. That's so cool. And the same thing with this farmer's market that's going to do that. I didn't know about that. And it's like, there's so much happening. There's so much happening. And all we have to do is just elevate up and jump on that bandwagon, because there are so many people all over the globe that are feeling this, and it's happening everywhere. And I just encourage you to, everybody, go through your contact list like I did. Set 3 criteria for who are people you want to get together with to find whatever your own, superpowers are, and bring them up, because it feels really good. It feels really good to know that when you come out of that bubble or that shell, there are people waiting to say, oh, thank God you came out of that bubble or that shell, because I needed somebody. It's like, it's this reciprocal thing. So I guess that's what I'm saying is, go do it. The time is right. You're not alone. There are plenty of people out there that are just itching to know you're there, to know you're in their city, to know that you're in their neighborhood, and it feels good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us, Sami.
Well, thank you, and thank TreeSisters for, oh my gosh, all you guys do. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and if anyone's watching and you would like to step in and join our woman-led reforestation revolution, you can do that by going to treesisters.org/donate, and we'd really love to have you. And you can also find the Inner Journey on Facebook if you would like to join that. And we will have another courageous conversation next week with Sami Aaron, and she'll be talking to another courageous woman. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you again, Sami, for joining us.
Thanks, Pollyanna. It's nice to meet you in person, kind of.
Yeah. Likewise. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.